back with another episode. Today, we're doing a live Q&A. We're going to have a lot of fun. So any questions you have, write them in the chat box. While you guys are coming in here, while questions are beginning to flood in, I'm going to talk about one of what I believe is the most important topic here. It's like the elephant in the room. It's the ongoing conversation that people are having in the world of diabetes, okay? You have two camps. You have a low-carb keto camp, and you have the high-carb, low-fat camp. And both groups are constantly, almost at war with each other, which is not fun. I don't want to be in any war. I don't want to be attacking anybody. I don't want to be saying bad things about anybody who doesn't feel good. That's not the game we're playing here. We are here to help you understand that if you want a permanent solution, you want to truly reverse insulin resistance, and you want to take care of this once and for all, and what you've tried in the past hasn't worked, got you to a place where you're still looking for solutions, we're here to be this new option, this new approach that you may not have heard before, and oftentimes we're told is not going to work. So I'm here to explain to you why it will work, to give you the confidence to put it into play and give this a chance, and then see in your own body, does it work? So I want to be very clear. We teach you how to follow a low-fat, plant-based, whole food diet to reverse insulin resistance permanently once and for all. This will help you no matter what type of diabetes you're living with, whether it's type 1, type 1.5, pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes, gestational diabetes. It doesn't matter which type you have. Your goal is to become as insulin sensitive as possible. You want the insulin that you're either injecting or the insulin that your body is producing to work very efficiently at taking blood glucose out of your bloodstream and into your cells so you can have that optimal A1C, so your fasting blood glucose can be right where you want it to be, looking to be under 100 if you're living with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. And with type 1, we have obviously a little bit more of a grace period here, okay? So a little more buffer, right? So 120-ish, 130-ish, that could be a fine fasting blood glucose if you're living with type 1 diabetes. Now, where does this confusion come from? Why is so much confusion, okay? And part of the reason is that diabetes is one of the few conditions where you can self-monitor on a meal-by-meal basis. And this is what sets people up for a lot of confusion, okay? The fact that you can eat a meal, you can test your blood glucose on a meter, you can look at your CGM, and CGMs are becoming much more widely available, and you can see the reading, and you can just start to interpret and make decisions. Oh, wow, that meal helped me, or that meal didn't help me. And so if you're living with cancer, you're living with heart disease or kidney disease, you don't really have that meal by meal feedback. You're not exactly sure what's going on, okay? So if you're living with, let's just say type 2 diabetes, all right? You eat that banana, you eat a small bowl of quinoa, you eat some beans, you test yourself, you see your blood glucose goes up. It goes higher than you want it to be. Let's say it's above 200, and it stays there. You're like, wow, the banana, that's the problem. Like, how can you tell me any other way? I just ate the banana, I tested myself. You'll see a common phrase in the diabetes community. You'll see people say, I eat by my meter. I eat by the meter. The meter tells me. And this, unfortunately, is a big mistake because you're only looking at one variable here. You're only monitoring blood glucose levels. In this case, you are not looking and thinking about, okay, what did I eat prior? What did I do that could potentially have put my tissues into a position where it is very difficult for you to metabolize the glucose even in whole foods? So we have to ask ourselves that question. And that's where Mastering Diabetes comes in, for us to explain to you the root cause of that blood glucose spike. And that root cause is the consumption of excess dietary fat, trans fat being the worst offender, saturated fat being the second worst offender, and then too much of the unsaturated fat, okay? So when you eat a diet that is more than 15% of your total calories from fat, okay? as you go up and up and up. So the standard American diet is about 42%. Okay. On average, that's what people are consuming. 42% of their total caloric intake is coming from fat. This is a problem, okay? Especially when you combine a higher fat diet with a decent amount of carbohydrate energy, especially processed carbohydrates, okay? So you create a metabolic storm. And we have over 80 million people in the US alone who are living with prediabetes and don't even know it. And also, you have to understand that before even prediabetes, you have to become insulin resistant. Then once your insulin resistance progresses enough, then you can be diagnosed with prediabetes. And when it progresses even further, you will become diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. So this is a problem that starts very early. It's silent in the vast majority of people who are living with insulin resistance, and it becomes more problematic over time. So what can you do to begin reversing insulin resistance? Well, the first thing you can do is you can take the insulin resistance quiz. Let me see if I have a link for I don't know, Beth, do you have a link for the insulin resistance quiz? You could find out what is your baseline level of insulin resistance. I don't have that link in front of me. That's okay. We'll have to get that. But it's also in our book. You can take a quiz, all right? And you can figure out how insulin resistant you are, or if you're watching the show and you're taking any diabetes medications, or you have been diagnosed with the prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, and you already know you're living with insulin resistance. It's already a done deal, okay? I'd actually love to know in the comments if you're living with some type of diabetes. Write that in your chat box, and also tell us what medications you're using, if you're using any medications. If you reversed your diabetes, write that in the chat box. If you are living with type 1 and you're using Novolog and Basaglar, write that in the chat box. That's what I would write. I'm using Novolog and Basaglar as a person living with type 1. So put that information in the chat box, okay? All right. So where do you begin, right? Where do you start? The place to start is number one, you got to get educated. Number one, if you have any question in your mind, you're still thinking, oh, hey, I learned so much that sugar's the problem, carbs are the problem. I can't have potatoes, I can't have rice, I can't have bananas. If that's a thought process you're having, then we have to get some more education so you become more confident in your decision-making process. So I see that Beth put the link in the chat box. Excellent. So masteringdiabetes.org/quiz2, that's going to take you to the insulin resistance quiz, where you can figure out what is your baseline level of insulin resistance, where are you starting, and then after the quiz, you're going to get told exactly what to do. What are the next steps based on your answers, okay? So back to what we're talking about here, okay? You have to have education. And once you get the education, you're like, okay, you know what? I'm ready to give this a try. Okay, Renee says reverse type 2, off all medications, also no longer on even asthma meds. Doctors are amazed. Renee, that's fantastic. Wonderful. I would love for you to write in the chat box. Give us a little more information. What did you do to achieve that result, Renee? What did you follow? Did you read our book? Did you add in some type of exercise? What'd you do? Let us know. All right. Okay. So now you're educated. You get the information. You're like, okay, you know what? I've seen enough testimonials. I've read enough of the science. I understand this logically. Now I want to see it happen in my own body. This is when you begin to start making the transition. And the transition period is very important. And you want to be detail-oriented. You want to be slow, and you want to be patient with yourself. Insulin resistance did not develop overnight. It's not going to reverse overnight, but it can reverse quite quickly. So when you get started, we cover all these details in our book. We cover all these details in our 6-week challenge. If you want to learn about that, you can check that out. But there's a process of lowering your fat intake while simultaneously increasing your whole carbohydrate intake plus greens and non-starchy vegetables. We are going to help you with not only your food choices, but your movement choices, how fast you eat. We're going to teach you the key adjustments you can make to avoid those dreaded spikes that you don't want to experience when you're making the transition, okay? Renee says, I read the book. The next day, I started the Mastering Diabetes lifestyle and started walking daily. Lost 85 pounds so far. It took me 8 months. Okay, Renee is the perfect example of exactly what I was just saying. Okay, she read the book, she got educated, and said, I want to do this. And she started eating the Mastering Diabetes diet. She started walking daily, which is huge. And she took her time. It was an 8-month change, okay? I don't know. There was probably a time, Renee, correct me if I'm wrong. Let's keep this conversation going. How many months into the process did you get like a new A1C test? Or did you see your fasting readings under 100? Like, what would you say was the period of time where you could be classified as, non-diabetic based on your numbers? I'm curious. And yeah, of course, losing the 85 pounds, that just takes more and more time. You're not going to do that in like 2 months or something. So you committed, you did it for an extended period of time. That's fantastic. I love that. Now that's a perfect example. So the walking is huge. People underestimate the impact that just walking will have on your blood glucose values, whether you're walking before a meal, after a meal, it doesn't matter. The most important thing is that you begin getting in more activity and more walking. Okay. Now, what's important to understand is that it doesn't need to be some sort of intense, exhausting workout in order to see impact on your blood glucose values. That's really important to understand. 3 months, my A1C went from 12.9 to 6. At 6 months, I was at 5 and taking completely off all meds. So basically in 6 months, Renee, that's fantastic. I love it. I mean, congratulations. Kudos to you for taking the initiative, for doing this. I'm so glad you came on the show today. This is fantastic. James says, was on keto, lost 50 pounds, felt bad all the time. Now have got my A1C 8.8 down to 7. James, excellent. You are on the right path here. You got to, again, keep going. So we saw Renee took 6 months to get her A1C down into the non-diabetic range. So James, I'm curious, how long have you been doing this? When did you start the plant-based approach? And let's see how much time has passed. I would love to hear that. I have a few questions here. When I began, my fasting numbers were in the 300 range. My A1C was 12.3. Now my fasting numbers are in the pre-diabetic range. Your method works for me. That's Tina C from YouTube. Wonderful, Tina. That's fantastic. I'm curious, how long have you been doing this, Tina? Would love to continue the conversation with you and make sure you continue on the path. And just like you see across the screen, masteringdiabetes.org/start. If you want guidance, you want support, you want to take this to the next level, working in our coaching program, especially through the holidays, having that accountability, having a coach, having a team, having a plan is really, really helpful. So make sure you set yourself up for success. Maybe you're already in the coaching program. I'm not sure, Tina. Let us know in the chat box. Hey, Robby, I struggle with low appetite, and I'm wondering if eating more fat to reach a normal weight will mess with my insulin. By fat, I mean mostly flaxseed, peanuts, and pecans. Okay. I would say we have to figure out what's going on with your appetite. At Mastering Diabetes, when you're working with our coaches, you're working in our program, we're always going to be having a mindset of addressing the root cause, not trying to put Band-Aid solutions on it. So we got to figure out what's going on there. It could be a wide range of different things that could cause that. Our team is definitely a great place to start, and qualified professionals to help figure this out. We have registered dietitians. We have certified diabetes care and education specialists. We have health coaches. We have weight loss coaches. We have an amazing team. So we got to address the root cause. We got to figure out what's going on with your appetite, and we got to fix that. Okay. I get objections from my patients about needing dietary saturated fat to produce testosterone because YouTube personalities tell them to do it and make a case that's difficult to overcome. Okay, Adrian, well, that note has been taken. Let's save that comment, and let's make sure that we can do a podcast on that topic. We can produce some videos on that topic so the science can be shared and we can figure out. I don't know exactly what they're saying. I'd have to watch some of those videos and make sure that your patients and people coming across our channel understand what things they can do to overcome that concern. Renee, I have my dad, now a diabetic, eating this way too. He had a kidney transplant in 2020. When he went to his last appointment, doctors said his new kidney is working better than ever and encouraged him to keep up this lifestyle. Renee, that's fantastic. This is a wonderful example of how you've changed your life, and now this is translating to change in the people around you, the people you love, the people you care about. Leading by example is key. As we come into the holidays and there's lots of family interactions, it's one of the hardest parts of this lifestyle. You get it, you're doing it, other people aren't getting it. The best thing you can do is lead by example and let time pass and hopefully inspire other family members to come around, and they will when they're ready. They will when they're ready. Hi, Robby. Are you a diabetic? Yes. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes on January 26th of 2000. So I've been living with type 1 diabetes for over 22 years. And I have had my C-peptide tested. It was at 0.01. So it's basically an undetectable amount of insulin is being produced by my pancreas. Therefore, I inject insulin like all other type 1s in order to eat food and manage my blood glucose and really stay alive. All right. Type 2, 17 years after a liver transplant. So this is James writing back to me, okay? Type 2, 17 years after a liver transplant, taking metformin, Humulin, R500, Ozempic, Jardiance, would love to. Okay, James, if you have not set up a free discovery call with a member of our team, like now is the time. Like James, I really, really want you to set this up and talk to the team. So I would like you to tell me that you set up your call before we end this show, which is going to be in a few minutes. So masteringdiabetes.org/start, you got to get in our program. And I cannot wait for you to get off those medications. I mean, Ozempic, Jardiance, some of these, those are the meds you get off very quickly. And then it's going to take a little bit longer. Well, I take that back. The insulin has to get cut back first. So in our book, we list medications in the order that you begin to reduce them based on how basically powerful they are, how effectively they lower your glucose levels. So you have to be careful, because as the program is working, as you're becoming more insulin sensitive, you have to be careful about not going too low, right? So most people with diabetes worried about these high readings. It actually turns around once you're following this program. You have to be careful about lows. Okay. All right. So we're going to answer a few more questions, and then we're going to call it a day. Can you really stop insulin injections for 1.5 on this program? So I hope we did not say that anywhere. I certainly would have never said that. If somebody's living with type 1.5 diabetes and they have already been put on insulin injections, the chances of not taking insulin anymore would be very, very slim. It's possible in a very, very small number of people that maybe they could become so insulin sensitive that whatever small amount of insulin they're still producing could keep them at a steady blood glucose range throughout the day, and their A1C could be in a good place. That's possible, but type 1.5, again, for all we know from the research, is it's slow onset. So unfortunately, over time, no matter what you do, it continues to progress. We have not necessarily figured out how to halt type 1.5 diabetes or completely stop the progression. So insulin is likely going to be required. I completed the 6-week challenge with Coach Wendy. I'm a type 1.5. I was able to reduce my Tresiba from 40 to 28 units by the end of the challenge. Insulin to carb ratio just keeps getting better. I love it. I started losing weight and feeling amazing after just a few days. The results happened immediately. My A1C was 10.2% and dropped to 7.8% in 6 weeks. I mean, Juanita, that is fantastic. I got to take like a screenshot of this. I mean, we got to capture this stuff. I guess we could later, but it's all the comments are like permanent, but that's fantastic. Guys, if you are on the fence about the challenge, really now is the time to just book a free call to talk to an enrollment specialist and figure out, is this the right option for you? What coach should you work with? Should you be working with Coach Wendy, like Juanita? Should you be with Coach Natalie, Coach Michelle? We don't know yet until we talk to you, figure out what's going on, what your goals are. But that's fantastic. Okay, I am in week 3 and already seen my level go from 12.1 to 8.3. Really pleased. I keep seeing you say you can eat bread. We have a bread machine and use organic whole meal flour. The recipe uses 25 grams of fat for a large loaf. Okay, so so you're asking, is that okay? I would talk to your coach. So you're in the challenge, send a text message on that group thread to the coach and your team and make that decision. Is this the right thing to be doing right now in order to sort of maximize this experience and the goals you're headed towards? That's up to you and your coach. So definitely make that a team decision. Okay. All right, guys. I tell you what, this has been fun. These testimonials have been fantastic. I love seeing the challengers come in here, share your experience and your commitment to this process, your commitment to learning, to being here. That's everything. That is going to lead to your success. There's no question about it. Once you get the education and when you're in our coaching program and you're asking questions, you're being proactive, we guarantee your success, like literally guarantee it. There's no way you cannot succeed because it's just science. And in this case, the more questions you ask, the more you're involved, the more we're going to help you succeed, right? The only time we can't help is when you're not communicating with us. No matter what challenges you're running into, our team is equipped to help you. And if there was ever a situation where we weren't, we have a lot of connections to a lot of medical professionals in a lot of different fields, and we can help get to the bottom of it. We are committed to your success. All it takes is your willingness to show up and be coached and take this and put it into action. Somebody's asking, how much is the challenge? The challenge, we have payment plan options. We have payment plan options. I would not let money prevent you from deciding whether or not you want to join or not. Okay. There are payments. I think it can be as little as like less than $100 a month if you're doing a payment plan for the 6-week challenge and you do small group coaching. So it can become very affordable, but you have to talk to an enrollment specialist to see if it's the right fit for you. Do not let cost prevent. If you're asking that question, like, oh, I might not be able to afford it, like just get on a call and find out, okay, what we can do for you. So book a call, masteringdiabetes.org/start. I don't have diabetes, not pre-diabetic, nor insulin resistance. This is my medical opinion is for everyone. This is my medical opinion. Okay. I'm not sure what your medical opinion is, but I think hopefully maybe you're saying that you're supporting this program. That'd be great. But thank you guys for joining. Again, love seeing the testimonials here. Love you guys' energy, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. See you next week, same time, same place. And we have a fun show on Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, same place. We're going to be making an amazing holiday recipe. It's a beautiful casserole. Okay. Coach Wendy's going to be with us. We're going to have a great time. Don't miss that.